Hello everyone. Welcome to your weekly tech update, the show that explores the newest, coolest, and sometimes mind-boggling side of tech available on the interwebs. I'm your Dragon Slayer, Ray McNeal. Coming up in the program today, the Israeli military is buying copter drones with machine guns mounted on them. Oscar Mayer adds 2 new vehicles to its fleet, including a wiener drone. And happening in this week's What The? Hotels that failed so badly that you gotta admit it's just funny. All that and much more coming up on your weekly tech update next. More than 2.5 years after the fatal breakup of Virgin Galactic's experimental rocket plane, Richard Branson is poised to revive powered test flights as the billionaire entrepreneur targets his first journey into space by the middle of next year. Following the completion of a series of glide-only flights, powered tests are set to take place every 3 weeks, with the aim of extending them into space by November or December. After his own flight, full commercial passenger operations should start by the end of 2018. Branson's update is the most detailed since the October 2014 crash of Virgin Galactic's original Spaceship Two, in which co-pilot Michael Alsbury died when the craft was torn apart after he prematurely unlocked a braking mechanism. While the accident in the Mojave Desert came just months before the planned maiden commercial flight, Branson said the appetite for travel to the edge of space remains undimmed, leaving room for a number of competitors. We will never be able to build enough spaceships, Branson said in Hong Kong following the introduction of Virgin Australia Holdings Ltd plans to offer flights from Melbourne. Virgin Galactic will also play a role in developing elements of Boom Technologies' planned supersonic plane, and will build parts for the XB-1 demonstrator, which the U.S. startup plans to commence work on before the end of this year. Branson, a vocal opponent of the UK leaving the European Union, said he's hopeful the country is now headed for a Brexit kinder to business, following the outcome of May's general election, which left the ruling Conservatives with fewer seats and dependent on the support of a smaller party. As many of you will remember, last year the internet briefly caught fire when pictures of a weird elevated bus thing that glides above traffic began circulating around. The so-called straddling bus was held up as a solution to China's notorious traffic problems, but all anyone really wanted to talk about was how it looked like the bus was eating cars, or how insane anyone would have to be to actually drive underneath. But as the months ticked by, the transit elevated bus, as it was known by, failed to stand up to the scrutiny. People noticed the thing looked rather shabby on closer inspection. And when CNN sent its reporters to investigate further, all they discovered was a hulking eyesore that was causing traffic rather than shuttling passengers above it. Now it seems like the local authorities have finally caught on. According to Quartz, police in Beijing are investigating whether the company behind TEB was illegally raising money through an online portal. This news comes a week after the government announced that it planned to remove the 300-meter-long track that the bus was supposed to run on by the end of the month. Citing sources on the microblogging site Weibo, Quartz reports that the chief executive of TEB Technology Development, a Beijing-based company that purchased the patent for the elevated bus, was among 30 people detained by police in connection to the alleged scheme. One city even built special tracks for the giant electric-powered vehicle, which is 72 feet long and 16 feet high. Meanwhile, TEB Technology promised to restore the 330-yard-long test site to its original state by the end of last August. Well, that obviously never happened, and now those tracks will be gone by the end of this August. The elevated bus, which is really just a train when you think about it, appeared to be the victim of China's fast-growing, unregulated, and occasionally sketchy peer-to-peer lending sector. Okay, so this idea really didn't pan out, but it wasn't due to the limitations in technology. It was due to the greedy hearts of just a few people. The idea is sound, and we could see this design again in the future. Every now and then we come across new attempts to bring haptic feedback into virtual reality, but we've yet to see one that's fully convincing. Those that are still around tend to be both pricey and far from ready for the market. Well, that is apparently no longer the case, thanks to a company called bHaptics. At HTC Vive X Demo Day in Shanghai, Engadget got some hands-on time with the Korean startup's Tact Suit. It's a wireless kit consisting of a haptic mask, 2 haptic sleeves, and a haptic vest. The fascinating part here is that it comes with a total of 87 feedback points, which is a lot more generous than what the other suits offer. It'll also cost less than its direct competitor, Nullspace VR's $549 Hardlight suit, which only has 16 feedback points. The Tact Suit's 87 feedback points are powered by eccentric rotating mass vibration motors. The obvious advantage with such a high density of feedback points is that games can be programmed with refined haptic feedback for a more immersive experience. To take this to the next level, games can even be programmed so that the same cutting pattern can be mirrored on both sides of the haptic vest in order to simulate the feel of one being cut in half. Lovely, isn't it? Other interesting possibilities include having a snake slithering around your upper body, being punched in the face, sensing your weapon's recoil, feeling an explosion's blast wave, and much more. This can all be achieved by using bHaptics' dedicated haptics editing software, which appears to be quite versatile and straightforward to use. Plus, it works in conjunction with Unity. According to the CEO, almost 47,000 people have used it between March and June as part of a horror game called Zombie Attack. From a hardware standpoint, the Tact Suit certainly succeeded in delivering an immersive experience as promised. The kit isn't clunky, the haptic feedback execution is unique, and most importantly, you don't feel any delay. For its performance and sub-$550 price point, the Tact Suit is by far the most promising haptic feedback suit to date. That said, don't expect to see bHaptics selling the whole kit to consumers anytime soon. The sleeves are available to anyone right now, but the company says it's focusing on business to business as well as selling the vest and mask to developers only. But that's a pretty good move. It's all about getting as many games to support the suit as possible. If all goes well, you'll be seeing Tact Suits pop up in your local VR arcades sometime in the very near future.